middle children of history, man. No purpose or place. We have no Great War, no Great Depression. Our Great War is a spiritual war.
What's up, everyone? Happy Labor Day to everyone. I can't imagine we're going to have a huge audience being a holiday, but figure we should probably keep to a schedule, or try to anyways.
Yeah, it was a little hard to keep on my schedule today with the weekend and everything. Like I was telling you earlier, to the kids camping, and it was my daughter's birthday this weekend, and she's entering an age I'm not ready for. And so it's been a whole lot of like dad getting used to things that, you know, he was not expecting to be used to yet.
Fair enough.
Did some camping, did some fishing. We've got a sick cow. I'm trying to figure out what her issue is. So I've been trying to take care of her today as well, but it's been a good weekend. I had a mishap last week that I posted on an X. My usual carry Glock. This is a Glock 19. I've got a Swamp Fox optics on it, enclosed red dot, and apparently the rounds were ejecting right into the glass. I don't know if y'all can see that. I'm flagging everybody.
Yeah,
in there.
right.
Don't worry, it's empty. Because like a bullet's gonna come through the screen.
Yeah, it makes you uncomfortable.
But there's a crack. Apparently, it was ejecting straight from into the glass. I'm flagging everybody in there. Y'all just have to get used to it. And it just cracked on me. And so I'm not real happy about that. I've got barely 1,000 rounds on this optic. Barely. I think I just broke it this range session. Because I had, you know, like with your 43X, you were having issues with your ejector.
Yeah.
I thought I was having issues with mine too. I didn't know if it was like a Gen 5 thing, but apparently I just had old ammo. Like you know, because when I buy ammo, I buy it in like 1,000 rounds at a time.
Yeah.
It's just cheaper.
It's cheaper that
especially
way.
now. You know, you can get free shipping sometimes, so it makes it even cheaper.
Yeah.
But I apparently had some old ammo, and like it just did not like it, man. I was getting failure to feeds, and it was like two different companies. It was Blazer, and it was I think Freedom Munitions, and it just was not. But I threw it at my CZ Shadow compact,
and it ate it. Yeah,
like a fat kid, you know. And so I just I bought some new CZ ammo. And I've got a local gun shop that sells a lot of CZ stuff. As far as like from Czechoslovakia,
yeah,
they've got a bunch of 9mm, and I threw that in it, and it did fine. And so it had to be in the ammo. I thought it was the mags, because usually when you have like a failure to feed or any type of failure on a firearm, the first thing you want to look at is the magazine. Yep. Usually the magazine. But no, it wasn't the magazines, because it happened on every single magazine I had. But yeah, man, I was like, man, I just bought this because the reason I bought the Glock, because I used to carry a Shadow Systems MR920.
Yep.
And I went to a shooting course with a guy, and I didn't have any issues, but two other guys who had Shadow Systems, theirs was just failing nonstop. And I was like, man, is mine going to do that?
Really?
I got paid way too much for this gun for it to be failing.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
I'll go back to old Trustworthy and go back to the Glock, because I used to carry a converted Glock 23 that I put a 9mm barrel in, and I used to carry that all the time. I didn't have an optic on it, so that when I went to the MR920s for the optics, and so then I went back to Glock, and then I started having issues with the Glock. I was like, oh my, what is going on? I just found out it was just old ammo. I mean, it's really old. It was like 9 years old.
That is pretty old.
I need to cycle through my ammo a little bit more often, I think. I think it was just like it was in the back, and I think it felt neglected, you know, and it was like poor little redhead stepchild
kid. Yeah, exactly.
Just asking for me to play with them.
JD says from one Marine to another, Semper Fidelis. Prayers going up from Minneapolis. He'll be there in a few weeks. I've been to the Church of All Saints once, JD, and might be having Sebastian, our newest, baptized there. We'll see. We're having trouble finding a place to get a traditional baptism. So,
Do you, in your diocese, is it a rule that you have to be registered at that parish to be able to be baptized there?
I don't believe so, but our diocese does not allow traditional baptisms at all.
So if you just, I mean, so the local FSSP parishes or whatever, they're not willing just to accommodate y'all?
Oh, well, so we go 2 hours to our one diocesan TLM. The next set of TLMs is 2 hours further south in the Twin Cities, and that's a different diocese.
Yeah.
With Philomena, our now second youngest, we went to the parish I grew up in down in South St. Paul to get a traditional baptism.
Mhm.
They were willing to accommodate us, no problem. But this time around, they're unavailable for like the next month. We
Wow.
ideally don't want to wait that long. It's a busy
Yeah, absolutely.
parish, so I'm not too surprised. But
So in those instances, would you be able to just tell the priest like, "Hey, I'm going to baptize her at home, but can we just cut,
do
and schedule it out for a month and then come do it as well, just in case?"
maybe I haven't. I want to try a couple other routes first, so
Yeah.
I'm checking with the FSSP in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
I could check. So Tyler's asking how close is the nearest SSPX chapel. There's a chapel in St. Paul that gets they have a one mass, one Sunday mass. There's a priory in St. Cloud, but like Anthony's flying in for it. St. Cloud doesn't have an airport,
Mhm.
so that doesn't ideally work.
Mhm.
So I don't know if the SSP can't do it and we can't find a traditional baptism in the cities. I guess worst case, maybe we could potentially do a new rite baptism after the TLM here in our diocese. I don't know. We'll see.
It's such a mess, man. Like y'all talk about on y'all's show, like I don't fault anybody for, I don't fault Sedevacantists. I don't fault people who go to SSPX because we are in such confusion now. Like, it's being passed all over X right now is like Father James Martin going to see the Pope, right?
Yeah.
And then Pope Leo, like obviously, and so all the narratives are coming out like he's obviously approving of Father James Martin. Like, you don't know what was said, right? Now he hasn't said anything against him,
Yeah.
right? So I get why you think that, but we also don't know what was said. And Father James Martin is not somebody that really tells the truth a lot. So yeah, and he also knows he's got the secular world on his side. So
And a lot of
if
money on his side too.
yeah, so if a pope does finally come down on the Skittles section of the Catholic Church, you're gonna have to be willing to reap the whirlwind on that, right? And unfortunately, we have very few bishops that were picked because they have a backbone, right? And
Very
so
true.
I don't fault anybody. Like in the situation y'all are in, because I had a friend right after Judicios Custodes happened, and he had a daughter. He had to transfer to our diocesan Latin Mass parish to get his child baptized in the old rite because they wouldn't let it happen at any of the Novus Ordo, even though all my children were baptized at a Novus Ordo parish, right?
In the traditional rite.
In the traditional rite. And the priest is he's very on board with the Latin Mass, but unfortunately he can't do it. They won't let him do it at that parish specifically. So, but he had, in our diocese, you can't be baptized somewhere you're not registered. So he registered at our parish, and now he's at the ordinariate, which is a bastard stepchild of the Latin Mass, pretty much. And so here in our diocese, we're very we have a lot of Episcopalian churches, a lot of Methodists, and I think an ordinariate would do phenomenal here. We've already had multiple like Episcopalian churches, or at least the people that go there, all converted once. It's happened a couple times in this diocese.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Priests and everything.
So pastors came over and everything. And so we've had that apparently happen a couple times. Now, before I got here, I've only been here like 7 or 8 years, but I think it would, as the kids say, I think it would kill, right? Like it would go crazy because we have a lot, man, I'll say this. We have an Anglican church here who the pastor there is getting a lot of flack because he's sounding a bit too Catholic.
Okay.
And so because he's friends with some other people I know, but so I've heard it through third, fourth hand sources. But I think it would do phenomenal here, just because we have so many. Because you have so many Episcopalians that I know. In fact, I know 2 guys personally who came over from the Episcopalian church because they were a little too gay. Like he's like, I just got tired of hearing it. He's like, now he goes to a pretty traditional, vernacular mass, and he loves it there. He didn't he said, people still talk like this. Like, yeah, you just got to find the right people, man. Hang out with them. Go to gun ranges. You'll find them there. But I just think it's just we're in a really horrible situation, and I don't fault anybody. Like we've had discussions about, there are certain about certain people I don't like, right? And I'm like, but I'm not willing to like throw them to the side just because I disagree with them on a majority of the opinions they have. They're
Just
still
because
on
they're
our
wrong about everything.
yeah, they're still on our side, right? And so I'm not willing to do that with anybody because we are surrounded on all sides, and we should not be throwing any allies away right now whatsoever.
My melancholic side gets the better of me sometimes, especially on Twitter, as you've noticed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, it's I don't know. It shouldn't be this hard to get your kid baptized. It really shouldn't.
No. Well, and then they would respond back with, "We'll just get it done in the new rite." What's wrong with the new rite? It's not as good.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
How do I tell you this? Like,
have you seen like the world today? Like, yeah, our kids need exorcisms when they get born. Come on, guys.
Just the mere fact that they have to ask that indicates that one has to be better than the other.
Yeah.
So then looking at it on its merits, right? Like which one is it? So yeah, I get it. And you're in a position where like you might have to do some stuff that you just don't tell anybody, right?
Maybe.
Like it's between you and the priest.
The problem with the baptism is that like the parish you're baptized at, and a lot of people don't know this, the parish you're baptized at, that parish holds all of your sacramental records for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So like, which is difficult because now before Sebastian, my first 3 kids, their sacramental records are at 3 different parishes. So that becomes troublesome. When you go for first communion, confirmation, marriage, later in life, they have to go to the parish they were baptized at to get their sacramental record. So like, I know a few priests. I could fly in, to do a traditional baptism, undercover, no problem. That would be easy. Where am I going to find a parish to give us a baptismal certificate from? And hold their baptismal records at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. When I came back into the church, 10 years ago, it was about 10 years ago. Anyway, my wife and I, a few years later, had to have it's called a radical sanation of our marriage, because I didn't get a dispensation when we got married, and because I was had drifted away from the church. And thankfully, my parish, like that I grew up in, I got all my sacraments at, is still there, thankfully. And so I was able to get it, but it took forever to get it. And because like they still. In fact, they called me one day. They're like, "Hey, do you have a number I can fax this to?" And I was like, "Well, I don't, I don't have." I know. And my comment was like, "Oh, we don't have that here." She's like, "We don't have that where?" I was like, "In 2020, or is it 2018? Like, we don't use faxes anymore.
In the 21st century, we don't have fax. Come on.
Why don't you send it to me on the Pony Express?" And I was like, "Just email it." And they're like, "No, we have to send it through fax or by, personal, the U.S. Postal Service." I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I mean, because now you're in a position like, what happens when those parishes close, as we're seeing in a lot of dioceses? Do they just all go to the cathedral? That would make sense.
I don't know. That's a good question. So
like, what ends up happening? And so if you have all these parishes that do close, like the parish I grew up in is now part of a cluster, right? Like it's one priest over like 4 parishes. like what happens when that's not there anymore? Like, what do we do? Because I don't know. So I don't envy someone in your position, especially after traditionals, because especially after these young families having all these kids, and like, what do we, our English mass won't do the mass, or it won't do the right. So what do we do? So it's rough, man.
Yep.
That's why I don't fault anybody. Go to the SSPV if you need to. We got one here in Alabama too. We talked about that during traditionals custodes when that happened. Like, what do we do? Like, if they take our mass,
Mm-hmm.
I think the majority opinion was, look, the mass is the most important thing, but community is like right there too. And we have a really good community at our parish. And so we were like, man, we're going to make this English mass as like reverent as possible. And we're just going to annoy everybody with it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have very few things in actual English, I think, for that ever happen. But thankfully we haven't had to deal with that.
Nice.
But I was like, hey man, I know some, there's an SSPX, across state lines, and I know some folks over there, and he'd be willing to come over here and do a mass. Right. I got some land. We can throw up some tents. We can make this happen. But thankfully we haven't had to come up to that yet. And so we'll have to see where things go.
Yeah. The community thing is hard. Like, because we live in a very, very rural area. And, like I work with multiple guys that go to the local parishes. Like, it would be very, very easy to be a part of the Catholic community here, but we're not going to mass here. I can't send my kids to the faith formation here, and it's hard to have a community that's 2 hours away that you have a hard time getting to once a week on a Sunday afternoon, let alone like for an activity on Wednesday nights or something like that. It's just not possible. So you feel like you're, entirely alone, which is one reason why Ant and I, built this channel.
Yeah.
Because that's given us that sort of community that it's so hard to find, out there as well, just as faithful Catholics in general, let alone trads.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's get into the topic that happened last week with the Annunciation Parish. And I think where I'd like to start is really where it came from, the responses you got on your post on X, just showing like what you would be carrying that day, right?
Let me just pull that up, I guess. I complain about Anthony always making this a Twitter review show, but for those of you who aren't on Twitter, let me just see if I can pull up my original post. Share my screen here. So I will admit this is a little bit of a mass fit post, so it's a little gay in that sense, but it's not vain in that I was showing in it at all. And it really was done just to kind of, I don't know, try to change the weird. I don't know what it's like down south by you, but like up here, like Yankee Catholicism really is like anti-gun.
So before we get into this, I've got a story. So I went to Minneapolis about 3 years ago.
I'm sorry.
And, I was up there for a conference for work, and after the conference was over, we ended up going to a restaurant in, somewhere. I can't remember what it was called. Apparently like the mafia used to own it, whatever. First time I ever had, fermented, what was it called? Some type of fish.
Lutefisk?
No, man, what was it? It was delicious, by the way. But I mean, that's the German in me. I like everything fermented.
Fair
but,
enough.
Anyway, so it's me and other guys. It's just nothing but me and a table full of guys at my job. And we were having a conversation about God. Is that a sub comment?
Subtweet comment.
So yeah, a sub YouTube comment.
That's funny, Bobby.
And we were just having a conversation about God, right? And and just whatever, and just talking about the faith or whatever.
Yep.
And we had a table next to us. Apparently it was a man and a woman, and decided it was their mission to come and confront us about our conversation. And it was a very boss lady woman and a very subdued husband or boyfriend or whatever he was. And
life partner.
She just it could have been a brother, who knows. And she decided to tell us that it was irresponsible of us to be having this conversation in public and be calling God a he. And like, I'm just like, I'm at the end of the week. I'm just really just done. And
Yeah.
I'm ready to go home. And I just kept telling like, hey, thank you. Appreciate that. Have a nice night. And she had to tell us, like, she had to get on her pedestal. And I was like, and I just kept thinking, like, we're in Minneapolis, right? Where like literally was founded by German Catholics, pretty much the whole area, right? Your cathedral could fit 5 of my cathedrals.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The Cathedral of St. Paul is
massive.
Love that place.
Right. And this woman thought it was, and I was like, where am I? Like, I'm so thankful I live in the South, especially Alabama, which is literally just like the South.
Yeah.
And I get in this conversation with my wife all the time. If you're south of the Mason-Dixon line, you made it. You're on the team. Okay. North of the Mason-Dixon line, can't help you. Right? But I was like, man, because like I'll go to Publix here and go get some, groceries or whatever, and I'll just start having a conversation with the person in front of me waiting in line. We'll talk about Jesus. We'll talk about God. We'll talk about everything. And
yeah, it does not happen up here.
Right. So if y'all are in occupied territory and you want to move to freedom, come to Alabama. All right. So let's pull up your post.
So I said, men, what are you all carrying to mass today? With a picture of what I carried to mass yesterday. And, there are posts that you purposefully kind of create to get out of your little circle and cause issues. This was not one of them. I did not want this post to get out of my little circle, and yet it's got almost 200,000 views. And boy, did it piss some people off.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Are you monetized yet on X?
I did just recently get monetized. Yeah,
that's gonna be like a few rounds of.
That's gonna be like $10. Awesome.
Yeah. So I think, and that's a big reason we wanted to start doing this was we've got to change the culture of, because the Catholic Church is known as the anti-gun church, right? Which we have no right. Like, that should not even be, especially in America. Should not be even in the same conversation.
It is the American bishops that made us the anti-gun church.
Yes. So that was a big thing of this wanting to do this type of show, was to change that culture, right? A little bit, right? Hopefully some of y'all go out and do bigger and better things than we do here, and y'all can change it even more. But like, this is the whole purpose of this is to develop the community so that we can have like-minded folks that are like taking responsibility for the protection of themselves and their families, right? Or taking responsibility to protect other people too, because like if I'm out by myself, I may not carry all the time, right? And because whatever the situation is, if I'm going somewhere like a courthouse or something and I can't carry,
right,
I might leave in the car or whatever, right? Yep. But I'm okay within that position that if something happens, I don't have a firearm on me, right? Like, I could die. Right. Like, and I'm willing to accept that. But when I'm out with my wife and my 4 young children, 3 of which are girls, I will do some horrible things to protect them. Right.
Michael,
I'm willing to do levels of violence that would shock a lot of you. Because my job and my duty is to protect my family. That is completely my responsibility only. And if I fail in that, I have to answer for that. So that was when I saw that on your post, because I didn't really get to really look at it till today and maybe a little bit last night. And I was
you were camping. That's right.
Yeah. I just looking at it, I was like, it's a lot of liberal Catholics still who bring up the trope of you shouldn't be carrying a mass anyway. Like that's the sacrifice of the mass. You shouldn't be doing that. That's blasphemy. Like, you would be shocked to enter a mass in the 1200s.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the amount of men there that were at least carrying a long dagger, right? At least, if not some of them having swords,
which was the contemporary version of carrying a handgun.
Yes, right. And so, like, how shocked? Like, would you rather I carry a sword? Like, I'm a knight of Columbus. They issue one, pretty much. Like, I'll show up with a sword if I need to.
Trust me, you want to see someone getting run through with the sword. Far less than you want to see them getting shot with 9mm.
Yes. Yeah. The violence required to kill someone with a sword is a whole lot bloodier than shooting somebody.
Yeah.
But just seeing some of the responses you got, man, or like, what was one of them? Was, well, so, living in fear, right? Well, no, like living in fear would
It-
mean that you're not willing to protect anybody, right?
Or if I had never, well, and I don't even necessarily think this is the case, but say I had never owned a gun and what happened in, Annunciation, made me so afraid to the point where I went and got one just so I could carry at church because I thought for sure someone's going to shoot up a church. Maybe then, but like I carry every time I leave the house, so
Mhm.
it's not any different for me. I'm not any more fearful now than I was 10 years ago when I started carrying.
Yeah. So in Afghanistan, you are not allowed to go anywhere. If you're on any FOB, like forward operating base, right? You are not allowed to go anywhere without a firearm on you, at least, right? And one is for responsibility, like you should have it within arm reach, but you never know when you're going to need it either. You're mostly safe on a forward operating base. Like I mostly operated out of FOB Leatherneck in Helmand Province when I was there. But you're required to have it. One, to show that you have it, right? And then you didn't lose any, because I can't tell you how many lieutenants lost their M9 in a porta potty, right? Or their rifle as well, their M4, leaving in a porta potty. I returned two myself.
But it's
right?
okay. Biden lost thousands.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were. And when they did have masks, yes, you're required to have it on you. And a lot of times you're required for it to be loaded, right? Depends on, if you're on in the outer reaches of the empire in Afghanistan, like where I was, if we had a priest come by and he did mass, if you don't have a magazine in, you have one nearby, right? But once you left the wire, you had one in.
Were they chambered?
If
I
you
don't
had a
know policy. On
it depends. Like it really depended. So if once you stepped outside the wire, you have to have it around in the chamber. You have to, right? Because you have to be able to throw that selector off real quick and go to work if you need to. But on base, not so. But you could just have a magazine in and be ready to rack it if you needed to. It just depends. But like our base was surrounded by Hisco areas, which is basically just a canvas bag in a metal netting that was filled with dirt. Right? It was an illusion of safety. Yes, it would stop like an RPG, but like it was only going to last for so long. So it is a little bit of an illusion of safety. But yes, all the time, like plenty of times throughout history, do we have weapons being openly born, openly shown, openly worn, or anything in the mass?
Yeah.
Even there are some apostolates out there that during a mass require you to lift a sword that they issue you, right? So the fact that we are so scared of weapons in a faith that developed the just war theory is asinine.
It is.
Right. And so we need to start taking away the stigma and get rid of the stigma of being able to protect ourselves.
Mm-hmm. I did look up to see if there were any previous canons issued by synods or councils that at any point banned weapons at mass. And the only things I could find were some canons from very local synods between about the year 500. So like in North Africa, there were some in the 500s. But they applied, like I said, only to local areas. And like in the 500s in North Africa, that's the heart of the Roman Empire. Like you were as safe there as anywhere.
Yeah.
There were a few issued under Charlemagne. But once again, that's the heart of the Carolingian Empire. After Charlemagne, though, like there are no even local canons that I could find that banned weapons at mass. And if you think about historically at that point, I mean, the North Africa at that point was then Muslim. The rest of Europe was under attack. So after the kind of the safety and security of Rome fell, those even local canons stopped being issued. So there's never, as far as I could find, there was never any universal canon that banned weapon laity from having weapons.
Yeah.
There were some, I think, in the Middle Ages that banned clergy from carrying weapons, but
Yeah. It's just, when you think of the world we live in now, right, with how easy it is to commit violent acts of terrorism, and how often churches have been attacked, like at Annunciation Parish, because the kid that did that went to that parish, right?
his mother had worked there. Yes.
Right. But so he had some connection there,
Yep.
at least, right? And so he knew it, and that was somebody that was on the inside, right? And so how much easier is it for him? Because one, he knows the layout, because we saw on the manifesto he had basically written out a battle plan and where he planned on dying.
He had a map drawn from memory.
Yeah, right. And so it was a lot easier for him because he knew the inside. Whereas, like, someone who Aloha Snack Bar, right, may not know, the layout of local parishes, and so they're just kind of working blind if they do something. But how easy it for them to do some type of vehicle-borne attack, crashing through the narthex and into the building, right? That we saw in Waukesha, Wisconsin, a few years ago, where he went through the parade, right, and killed a bunch of people. The deadliest item most people have access to is a vehicle, right?
Yeah.
How easy it would be for them to, as everybody's coming out of mass, to just plow through people as they're coming out of mass, right? And so,
or a procession, Eucharistic procession or something.
Imagine doing Corpus Christi, and all of a sudden you have a Toyota Camry, just plowing through people, right? And it's not hard, because you can't stop a vehicle because it's a couple thousand pounds, and there's really nothing you can do other than having barriers up in some way. But we're getting behind something. But the world we live in, and with the amount of violence that's going on by people who just hate us, right? Whether they hate you for your politics, they hate you for your religion, whatever it is. So some of the things, I had intended to having Rick Barrett on, and he unfortunately apparently was in Rome over the weekend, and his flight couldn't make it back in time. He apologized for not being able to be here, but I'm going to quote extensively from his book. His book is a fantastic resource, and it's everything just basically summarized and put together for everyone to educate themselves on what is the actual Catholic position on carrying a firearm. So we're going to go through this fairly quickly, because I want to get into what could have been done at Annunciation Parish, and what I would suggest, and maybe helping y'all get some ideas of where you go from here. If maybe you don't have any type of security team at your parish or anything, how do you establish one? We go from there. But I'm going to start in chapter 3, because I want to go over some of the popes.
Do you want to show everyone the book and read the text?
Yeah. So this is, y'all can see I've got some notes ready to go. So this is the book, right? It's like $15 on Amazon. You can get a PDF of it as well. But it's a great resource.
Apple Books has it for $2.
Apple Books does?
Yeah.
So if you like electronic books, I don't. But if you do, that's great. $2 is. And not only that, but then you can read, you'll be able to search it and stuff. And like I had to actually read it to find what I wanted.
You're going to sit chapter 3.
So chapter 3, we're going to start with the popes. So starting with a quote from Pope St. John Paul II's 1995 encyclical, Evangelium Vitae.
Let me see if I can zoom in on this here. Oh, come on. How do I zoom?
It's going to start with certainly.
Next page, I think. Okay, right here. So,
yeah. So as it starts, so this is from 1995, St. John Paul II. Certainly the intrinsic value of life and the duty to love oneself no less than others are the basis of a true right to self-defense. The demanding commandment of love of neighbor set forth in the Old Testament, confirmed by Jesus, itself presupposes love of oneself as the basis of comparison. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Consequently, no one can renounce the right to self-defense out of lack of love for life or for self. This can only be done in virtue of heroic love, which deepens and transfigures the love of self into a radical self-offering according to the spirit of the Gospel of Beatitudes. The sublime example of this self-offering is the Lord Jesus himself. So one, when you're deciding to protect yourself, right, you have a right to your body, right? You have a right to your own protection. You have a right to your safety. And so you have a right to defend yourself against someone who
you and rights and responsibilities go hand in hand. So if God gave you that right, God has given you also a responsibility to protect yourself.
Right. And so even if it's just you you have to be willing to accept the consequences, right? So like I was bringing up earlier, I don't always carry depending on where I'm at, depending on what's going on. I'm willing to accept that consequence. I'm willing to go into that establishment, right, and knowing what may happen. And I'm okay with that. And you have to be okay with that as well. But you also have to be okay to accept the consequences if you decide not to abide by something that they ask you to do, right? I have been kicked out of businesses for carrying when they didn't want me to. That's okay. That's their right. That's their business, right?
Yep.
I don't have to be there either. I can give my business to someone else. And I do most often. But if I'm meeting somebody for lunch or something and it's a place they like, I'm willing to be kicked out, right? At least here in Alabama, they just kick you out. Some states, they'll arrest you.
Yeah.
But so know your local ordinances and be willing to accept the consequences. All right. So then continuing on, legitimate defense can be not only a right, but a grave duty. Okay. That's important. Grave duty for someone responsible for another's life, the common good of the family or of the state. Unfortunately, it happens that the need to render the aggressor incapable of causing harm sometimes involves taking his life. In this case, the fatal outcome is attributable to the aggressor whose action brought it about, even though he may not be morally responsible because of a lack of the use of reason. Okay,
That's an important little part there.
Yeah, it's a grave duty, right? So if any of y'all follow me on X, right, you'll see I keep quoting this same scripture verse over and over and over, right? Because it is important. 1 Timothy 5:8. But if any man not care of his own, and especially of those of his house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel, right? You are responsible for your family. As the protector, provider, presider of your family, right? You are responsible for them, and their safety depends on you. If you are unwilling to do what you need to do to take care of them, you're going to answer for that, and it won't be good. So that's going through the popes, and we're just going to keep going down. This is going to be a lot of stuff that y'all can find in this book.
And
right? So
I like that we start at a pope that at least most of us probably involved in this channel would consider one of the more modernist liberal popes.
Yeah.
But even JP2 recognized not only the right but the responsibility and duty to use whatever means, at least proportional means, to defend yourself.
And remember where he came from, right? And
True.
like what he grew up under, right? So that's helped give him the foundation for the understanding of that right. Because you have a lot of people who live, like in Europe, right? A lot of places in Europe right now, they're even outlawing knives. Like you can't even have a knife. But they don't seem to go after immigrants who have fully automatic AKs, right? But you say something about them, and all of a sudden, you're snatched up. Like we saw with that little girl in Scotland, was she 14 years old, protecting her little sister?
With
right? She understood her duty better than most men do.
Huh.
And now she's being arrested for it. So yes, I agree. Pope St. John Paul II is probably the best person for most people that have grown up in the last 50 years to really bring it home that, one that they idolize as much as him, who really respect what he did. He says, look, like you have a right, you have a grave duty. That is no laughing matter, right? You have a responsibility to do that. All right. So then if you get into chapter 4, going over what the church actually say. Right. And this is just, catechism after council after catechism after code of canon law, right? And I'm only going to hit a few of these. So the two big ones is, we have the Catechism of Trent. If a man kill another in self-defense, having used every means consistent with his own safety to avoid the infliction of death, he evidently does not violate this commandment.
Speaking of the fifth commandment.
Correct. So and it comes down to like just war theory with a proportionate response, right? If someone is breaking into your house, like don't set off a claymore, right? Like don't shove a bunch of tannerite in a pillow right by the door and blow that thing up as they're coming in, right? Like, let's make it proportionate, right? So it's I have known of guys in wartime who have gone a little bit overboard, right? But a Roomba will hold approximately 1 pound of tannerite.
Perfect.
I don't know who needs to know that, but that's an experiment that has been tried. 1 pound of tannerite is a lot of tannerite. You throw some nuts and bolts in there too, man. It's a party. It's a party. So we'll go on for the Council of Trent. Then we get into the let's see, Baltimore Catechism, right? Question 1276. Under what circumstances may human life be lawfully taken? Answer. Human life may be lawfully taken, 1, in self-defense when we are unjustly attacked and have no other means of saving our own lives. Okay. You can't just go out like that's why revenge is not acceptable, right? After the threat is gone, you have to let it go. Now we can get into it because that's a conversation I've had. I've asked Timothy Flanders, at what point are we in self-defense, right? So like, for example, say your local government has become corrupt and they want to come snatch up your children because you won't let them learn the Skittles faith, right? Like at what point are you justified, right? Do they have to put hands on your kid and try to pull them away from you physically? Or can you stop them before they come in the driveway, right? Or can you stop them before they get into your neighborhood? Like at what point, right?
Yeah.
Because if they're coming to your house and they're coming to their house and they're coming to take your child away from you, right? So at what point do you feel threatened? And are you fearing for the safety of your children? So I don't know. I can't answer that for you. I can just answer what I would do, and I won't say that on this stream. But
That's not.
Just know that like you have to be willing to accept the consequences. All right. So then we get into the Catechism 2006. All right. This is that should be on the next page.
Do you want otherwise?
Did you want to go over another one?
2265 and the CCC is good
2265
because it talks and this is what this
Yep.
So this is part of what JP2 quoted from. And
legitimate defense can be not only a right but a grave duty for one who is responsible for the lives of others. The defense of common good requires that an unjust aggressor be rendered unable to cause harm. This is another reason that the death penalty is in Scripture, right? Is listed, has always been taught by the church.
Yeah.
Right. It's
funny how this completely contradicts Francis's edit later on in the Catechism.
Because we had this issue in Alabama a couple of years, 2 years ago. An inmate escaped with a corrections officer, and he ended up killing 2 more people before he got apprehended. Right. And so if he had been legitimately given the death penalty, that would have saved those 2 people's lives. Right. And just in that aspect, not even taking into account getting him to answer for his own sins, right, and face death himself and hopefully repent.
It also a defense of the common good isn't necessarily even necessarily like a threat of like someone taking someone's life. Now I'm not talking about in self-defense, but I'm talking about like for capital punishment. You know, you don't have to be worried about that person escaping prison necessarily to defend the common good with execution. You know, it could be that, and studies prove this out, that that using capital punishment deters crime, in that that is a defense of the common good, and therefore can justify the capital punishment. But that's a separate topic.
Yeah. And just finishing out 2265, the last one really brings it home. For this reason, those who legitimately hold authority also have the right to use arms to repel aggressors against the civil community entrusted to their responsibility. So a lot of people are going to bring up, well, it says hold, authority.
Or civil community.
Right. Or civil community, right? You have authority over your home, right? You have authority over your family.
Your family is a civil community.
So you are legitimately in authority, right? You don't have to be elected, right? Elections are a recent invention, right? So you don't have to be put there by some overarching authority. You have authorities given to you by God that you are required to uphold and protect. So you don't have to, think that, well, just because I'm not a police officer, then I don't have the authority. No, that's not the case. You are the priest, prophet, and king of your home, right? And you need to act accordingly. All right. So we're gonna go over a couple others, and again, this is not exhaustive. We're not going to go over all the stuff that, all the citations that go over in this book. These are just kind of some wave tops, so y'all understand that this is our faith. This is our tradition, right? Is to protect life. And then I'm going to get a little bit in the just war theory, which is chapter 6. Not much. I just really want to go over really the what satisfies just war, because this really does take into account, because this guides how you respond, right, and how you act. So over just war theory, it has to have a just cause, right? So this is where revenge is outside the realm of possibility here. You cannot seek someone out after the threat is gone, right? If somebody's breaking into your house and you shoot at them and they run out and they run away, you cannot chase them down the street, right? So with it having a just cause, you are required to make sure that once the threat is gone or over, right? If you put them down, they can't shoot back at you. Well, then now you may have to render aid and keep them alive, right? You may, hopefully you know how to use a tourniquet or some chest seals or something, right? But then it has to be declared just by a recognized official authority. We've already done that, right? If you are in self-defense, it is declared just by a recognized official, the highest authority, right? It can only be waged with rightful intention to ultimately preserve civil order and lasting peace. So again, it has to be the threat is there, the threat is imminent, and the only option is either them or you, and you make it them. Okay. And then the last one we get over, and this is just kind of a throw in at the end. This is what chapter is this? So the USCCB, chapter 7. I have a little quote. So it's I don't know if you have a page. Does he not have pages on numbers on here? That'd have been amazing if he did page numbers.
I have page numbers, but I don't know if they're going to match what you have.
I don't. So it's after the Trujillo case. It goes after the proportionality of justice. There's a quote there from the USCCB. Yeah, right. It should be next page.
Okay.
Yeah, right there in the middle. In the italics. Self-defense against an unjust aggressor is morally permitted. There is also a moral duty for the defense of others by those who are responsible for their lives. Self-defense or the defense of others as the goal of protecting the person or persons threatened. Once the threat is eliminated, no further action is required. In such situations, the deliberate killing of the aggressor can be permitted only when no other solution is possible. Any response to aggression must be proportionate to the nature of the threat or the act of aggression. So I threw this one in because it contradicts a lot of other things that the USCCB has stated.
Yeah,
right?
It does.
And so just know you have all your bases covered. Whether we use canons, whether we use councils, whether we use popes, whether we use the USCCB themselves. There is no reason for you to accept any answer from anyone saying otherwise. You have all the information you need. You just have to act accordingly with it. Okay. So with that, what could have been done differently at Annunciation Parish? So I'm going to have to lean on you and a little bit on Rob, because I don't know what the laws are there.
I know him pretty well. So
okay, good. So at a school, do schools there have school resource officers?
Public schools, yes.
But private schools do not.
I cannot say for certain. I don't know if maybe some do, some don't. But I do know multiple laws were attempted to be passed to give private schools the same funding for security and protection that public schools received, and those laws were not passed by the Democrats here in Minnesota.
Yeah. So here in Alabama, we have school resource officers, but the schools have to pay for it, right?
Okay.
So they will provide us someone, we just have to pay for it, right? So we, like when my daughter was going to one of the local schools before we homeschooled, they had a school, he was there all day, right? And so that provided a lot of deterrent from anybody doing anything. Now, schools have been attacked, even though they have school resource officers.
Mm-hmm.
The Appalachian High School in Georgia a couple of years ago was attacked, and that was 2 miles away from where I lived when I lived in Georgia when I was a firefighter there, and they had, I think, 2 school resource officers there. I might be off. It maybe even had 3, but anyway, it's a large school because it covers pretty much the whole county, and they still had attack there, right? So
what about the one in Florida? That didn't the school resource officer wasn't he outside the building and never went in? I forget. The one that made what's his face famous, David Hogg.
Oh yeah, the one that he wasn't actually there.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
I feel like there was something about the school resource officer in that case.
That's what happened in Annunciation Parish, right? He was just shooting from the outside in through the windows.
Yeah. So right? so at Annunciation, yeah, it was all the school kids were in the chapel, the parish church for weekly mass. And I believe the front doors of that parish are locked, so he couldn't get in the front, and he knew that.
Mm-hmm.
So he shot through the glass, the stained glass, I believe, on the side of the church, and hit them while they're in the pews.
Yeah. And the only thing you can do in that position is just get down, right? Get underneath the pew. If you're inside, yeah. If you're inside and someone starts shooting in through the stained glass to your parish, just get down, get underneath the pews. Hopefully there's enough deflection there that they can stop the rounds.
Even if you're carrying in that situation, like by the time you figure out what's going on, assess the situation and start to act, the shooter's probably effectively done, at that point, I would imagine.
So here in Alabama, if someone has
Parkland.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. He was scared to go in, like Uvalde, right? And I remember him being sued, and he ended up being acquitted because he had no duty to protect. Right? What Supreme Court case was that?
I forget. It was.
It's in Rick's book.
It's not Heller, is it?
No, it's not Heller. It's a weird one.
It was on a subway in New York. The cop just sat there. Yeah.
So according to the Supreme Court, the police are not required to protect you. They're only required to investigate afterwards.
The whole protect and serve thing most people think about when they think of cops was a slogan developed by a marketing team, I think in the 30s, for a sheriff's department. They do not have a duty to protect and serve.
Which we saw in Uvalde in
legal duty. Yeah, they have moral duties, but
they haven't. Yeah, they will not go to jail for not protecting you. Is basically what we're saying.
Yeah.
And we saw that in Uvalde too, because even the sheriff there eventually, like he just had to get fired, right? Because it was just a PR nightmare for him. But he's not doing any time, right? For telling them not to go in.
Can't even bring a civil suit against them.
No. Right. So just know when seconds matter, police are minutes away, right?
Or right there and doing nothing.
Or right there and not doing anything, right? Which is why when it came to Uvalde, I think Bortak is eventually the guys who went in. right?
Yeah.
Because it was parents of children there that decided to just go in because the cops weren't doing anything. So, all right. So in those instances, like hopefully, if at your parish, you have some type of security team, right? And they don't even have to be carrying. If you just have somebody there that looks imposing, is wearing some type of uniform and makes it look like they're security, that's usually a deterrent for most people. Because your most common issue you're going to have at your parish is crazy people, right?
Yeah.
People just like, they have a screw loose and they're wanting to just come raise a ruckus at your parish. And, we've had an issue here at one of our parishes where a guy came in the middle of mass, walked down the aisle, sat in the front row and took out a permanent marker and started writing 666 on his forehead. Right. That's the most likely issue you're going to deal with. So even if you live in an area where you can't have a firearm at mass for whatever reason, maybe you're in Australia, then at least having the presence of somebody who looks like security can be a deterrent for most situations. De-escalation techniques are going to be the most likely techniques you use when dealing with people at your parish. So if you can find any local classes that police put on for de-escalation, or have a local police officer come teach your security team some de-escalation techniques, I highly recommend it. You're going to use that more often than anything. But yeah, there it is. I see Winnebago because I was like, it's a weird name. We've been looking at RVs all weekend.
You'd fit in with the Winnebago, that's for sure. Like an old 80s Winnebago, man. That's definitely you.
Man, I looked at an Airstream.
Ooh,
those things are nice.
They are.
And they look good. Their aesthetics is pleasing.
Yes.
So
you need to get yourself a nice nickel-plated 1911 for when you're camping in an Airstream.
Yeah, or get the nickel-plated Beretta, right, and throw the Our Lady of Guadalupe grips on it or something, or St. Michael grips maybe. What was that movie, Romeo and Juliet, with Claire Danes and Leonardo DiCaprio?
Yeah.
We got to bring that one back. I'm gonna start making some memes with that one. So another aspect is controlled entrances, right? So specifically at our parish, you can't come in the front doors after mass has started. You have to come in the side doors, controlled entrance. And if you come in the side door, I always suggest to our guys, you sit at the end of the pew at all times, right? No matter what. And that way your line of sight is going to be a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have capability of intercepting anything that happens. And so it's specifically one of our main security guy, right? He'll go up and he'll most often be up near communion time, up near the rail. And so I've suggested to him, hey, because we normally have one other door open. And I advised him, like, hey, we're going to just cut it down to one door.
Yeah.
When the communion happens, because you're going to be in the front. That way I can, because I'm always on the side where the entrance comes in. That way if somebody comes in, I can intercept them, or someone else is right there, hopefully. But just controlling the entrances as well. And these are just suggestions, right? You have to find out what's best for your parish. If you're in a church in the round and you've got 30 doors, right?
That's rough.
That you're going to have a hard time. You're going to need to put a really good plan together. You're going to need
sight
to find
lines are terrible there. Yeah,
it's going to be a real bad day for you if something ends up happening. And not only that, but you're going to have to be fighting against a priest or a parish council who don't think anything will ever happen and are not going to listen to your suggestions. So that's going to be a bad day. But
yeah, you started off on the
I grew up in a parish that's in the round, but we only had two entrances into the main door.
Our TLM is done at a parish. It's not in the round per se. It's like a semicircle. Yeah, it's not great for security.
If you have anybody near you as well that can do what's called a threat vulnerability assessment. What I did in the Marines, like we did these all the time. Anytime we got to a new installation or something, we would do a TVA just to see what the issues are, right? Where are the access points? Where are the, are there vents that come in from the outside? So Mike could just throw like a CS grenade or some type of other irritant in through the vents, and now it's contaminating everybody inside. Like, you just knowing what could happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you can do that for your parish, or somebody that can do it, that'll give you a better idea of like where are our weak points, right? For example, at one parish that I did it at, I suggested, I was like, and this was the excuse they used to end up getting it installed was, you need an altar rail, because that is a barrier between someone getting to it gives you an extra couple of seconds for someone to get over that barrier to get to the priest, right? So you need to have an altar rail installed. And 6 months later, they're like, hey, this is a security thing. We need an altar rail, like just in case something happens. And and everybody was on board all of a sudden for that, right?
Yeah, once you get that, and then you're like, really, a root screen would be more protective. It's keep moving the
choir
football.
needs to get back up in the choir loft. We can put somebody up there with a 1x6 LVPO. And again, these are just suggestions, but if you know something, or if you want me to send you like kind of a guideline on how to do DV, I'd be happy to do that. There's all kinds of guides and stuff that you can find at manuals. And I can direct y'all to some of those, but someone will know how to do it. You've got you've got a police officer that might be able to do it as well. He's not going to do as good as me, but he'll be able to do something, right? At least give you an idea. Just these are some things for people who already have a security team. But what if you don't have one? What do you do? For now, you just carry, right? And then you need to start talking to other guys in your parish, and maybe even have like a parish. Hey, like some of the guys are going to go to the shooting range. Who wants to go? And that kind of starts sifting out some people that you can kind of like look to, like, okay, this guy's on the level at least a little bit, right? And so I can start talking to him and seeing and then when you take him to the range, see how he shoots, right? If he never hits, the A zone, you need to discard him immediately.
If he shows up with the single action revolver, maybe look for someone else.
And he plays a fiddle in his off times, completely disregard anything he says. So finding like-minded people, right? And you also want to stay away from anybody that has like anger issues, because people that have anger issues don't de-escalate. No. And because the last thing you want to do is pull a firearm. Like, you want that to be the absolute last thing you ever have to do. So you want somebody that's pretty level-headed. So start talking to these guys, doing some things with them. Maybe like do a men's night or whatever. Start getting to understand where a lot of these guys are at, and then you can start building your team. And then once you have a team together and you all talked about it, then you can approach the priest, right, and be like, hey, some crazy stuff's been going on lately in the world. We want to be just prepared, and then present him the solution before he even knows he has a problem.
Yeah. Right.
Present like, hey, I've already got like 4 guys, right now for at least one mass. And this is how we want to start doing things. We want to start, we're all going to wear like a lapel pin so people know who we are, right? Hopefully they're all wearing suits. And that way people can recognize who we are. And we've already got a layout of the parish, and we would like to start controlling the access once mass starts, right? So maybe closing off to one door, and maybe put it in the bulletin so people understand this, like, this is for safety reasons, right? And then tell them as well as like, hey, and as well, all of our guys are CPR certified, right? So if a medical event happens, we all know how to use, some other first aid, and hopefully you all go through.
That's one way you can really sell it to almost any parish priest, any parish council, because every priest up there has had to call the ambulance during a mass, at some point for a medical emergency.
Yeah. Because you want to present yourself as value added, right? You don't want to be like, hey, we're going to do this, and we're going to be wearing, outside the waistband, and we're all going to be wearing 1911s, and like we just want to be a presence so people know that not to mess with us. Like, that's not the way to go about it. Even if you have a priest who is completely on board with a bunch of guys carrying and being the security, they're not going to listen to you, because now they have to deal with the parish council that's going to be down his neck all day, every day, because these scary guys are bringing guns to mass, and they're scaring the children, right? So you have to present yourself as value added that way to get it across, right? And for him to understand, like, this is a good thing for the parish. These guys know medical. These guys are willing to de-escalate, and the guys that they have, if they are carrying, they've been through some type of certification or qualification or something, so they know what to do. Okay. And so with Annunciation, there's a lot of there's a lot of signals about what was going on. How many people had access to that guy's YouTube and didn't say anything? Right. Because he posted that the day before. Right.
Yeah.
And so how many people didn't say anything? How many people
I love how we, if I say certain words, we will have a little thing. No, camera, stop it. No. I I hate this camera. Actually, wait. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can get it to zoom up. Okay, there we go. If I say certain words, YouTube's little auto censor will catch it and put something under the video within an hour. How did YouTube not catch those videos?
that's the thing they did, right?
Probably.
And no one said anything, right? Because all you have to say is orange juice, right? And all of a sudden, like you got the censors coming up, right? So that's the thing, right? Like they know especially with AI, they're catching everything. They know exactly what you mean, and they know exactly what's going on, and they let it go through anyway. That's there's a guy on X, Joe, who
From
runs
my
Tactical
own
Wisdom,
wife.
and he keeps, what is it, the Bourne Ultimatum, where they're basically going through. There's a like a 30-second monologue talking about how they basically make a wind up toy and set it off and let it go do its thing, right? And that is basically what's happening right now. You have organizations that have conditioned people in a certain way and then wind them up like a wind up toy, put them on the ground and point them in a direction, tell them, all right, go do this. And that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Right. If you'll notice, a lot of these active shooters lately, they have access to firearms they should have never understood how to even get, or the amount of money it costs to get it, or maybe access to get into places they should have never had. Right. These are a lot of these things are done on purpose. Right. Anytime there's a bill about to go through that is good, just wait for the active shooter within a couple of days after that. Right.
Like, what's his Luigi, whatever his name was, happened a few months before
Mangione.
they trying to get silencers off the NFA.
Mm-hmm. Right. So these things are intentional. And just know that. Right. So do not be afraid to carry a firearm because you're afraid the government's going to persecute you. Right. That's the life of a Christian. Be willing to accept persecution. It's going to happen. That doesn't mean you don't have to live up to your duties. All right. So those, we can go on and on about security teams, and I probably need to go into what I suggest in the security team. Because I've set them up before. My parish kind of already had ones established before I got there, and I'm not trying to step on any toes.
Right.
So I'm not trying to force myself on anything. But I just offer suggestions, and they listen, which is good, but sometimes I may have a bad idea. I might go a little too above and beyond on some things, and they're like, hey, we can't do that here. Right. Whatever it is. But some things have been implemented that have been, we have basically a large IFAC, right? With
That's good
plenty
idea.
of tourniquets in it. We need more tourniquets in it. Right. And I've told them that I'll buy them. I'll throw them in there.
I mean,
we need more test deals. We need
I was
more.
gonna say, how many do you have? Because we saw with this last shooting, which relatively ended in a fairly low death toll, still had 18 kids injured. That might mean 18 tourniquets, 18,
and even then,
seals, hemostatic gauze.
A cat tourniquet will not do well on a 5-year-old.
No.
Right. Their limbs are way too small. There's going to be way too much slack. So what do you do? Right. And there are other things you can do. I never suggest a tourniquet that doesn't have a windlass on it. Right. There's a company out there right now who creates one that uses a lot of surgical tubing and a metal clasp. Basically, do not use that. It hasn't been proven. Use a tourniquet with a windlass. But if you're in a parish that houses 200 people at a mass, and you approach that sometimes, you need at least 10% in tourniquets, at least 20 tourniquets, just in case. And I would suggest double that in chest seals, right? And then as well as like you need gauze, and you just need a boo-boo kit, right? Somebody gets, my kids thankfully don't run around in a mask anymore, but we have some kids who do.
Must be
And
nice.
if they fall down the stairs or they scrape their knee or whatever, like you want something to be able to patch them up a little bit. Kids love love Band-Aids. They think they're stickers, right? Just having little things like that. Just you want to present yourself as something that is not going to be a burden on that priest. Because if you're one other thing he has to worry about, he's going to say no. And now you have to do things that gives him plausible deniability, right? Which I've set up a security team in the parish where the priest was like, yeah, I don't want this here. Okay, just so you know, you can't have that here. And they're like, okay, we got it. And so that keeps him without having to, gives him a little bit of plausible deniability if hire comes up on and decides to ask him some hard questions.
For either a security team or maybe for someone who goes to a parish who doesn't have a security team but knows that their parish or at least their priest is cool with them carrying, do you suggest they carry just whatever they would normally conceal out and about, or do you suggest maybe a larger duty size pistol, something of that nature?
I think the first rule is carry something you're good with shooting, right? Don't worry about the size of it. If you're good with a little 43X or a Ruger LCR or whatever, and you can hit something reliably from at least 10 yards, and you can hit something, within a 4-inch plate, carry it, right? But rounds matter. Yeah. The more rounds you have, the better, right? I always carry at least a compact, right? So my 19, it's got a mag of 15, and I carry an extra mag on my belt line. That's another 20 rounds because I got a +5 extender on another mag. Right. So I've got at least 35 rounds on me. Right. But carry what you're good with shooting first, because it doesn't matter how many rounds you have. You can't hit nothing. It doesn't matter. You need to be practical. You need to be shooting at minimum 1,000 rounds a year at minimum. And you need to be doing really good technique. You need to go out and find training by reputable trainers. Stay away from anybody from the NRA, because anybody can become an NRA trainer. You literally just sign up online and they certify you on the website. There's, and they may have changed it a little bit now, but there's a local woman here who does NRA training, and the only thing she's shooting is the dinner for that night, because that woman she's not gonna be running after anybody. But take reputable training and from good people, and especially if you can find a guy who implements first aid with it, like throwing on a tourniquet and shooting. Yeah. Right. So one thing I used to teach guys all the time was how to shoot with your offhand, right? Because you might get shot in your main hand. So learning how to shoot and reload with your offhand. And I usually did that
one-handed,
yeah. I would duct tape a tennis ball in their hand. All right, draw. And then all of a sudden you start seeing guys, they don't carry it at 3 o'clock anymore. They carry an appendix because they can't reach to the 3 o'clock anymore with their offhand, with their left hand. So they start carrying appendix a lot more often. So carry what you're good with shooting, I would say.
Any consideration for having one person maybe having available somewhere a long gun?
So the thing you worry about with a long gun is penetration.
Yeah.
Right. If
or
you're in
PCC,
an older,
maybe.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, you can, right? Just be aware of what your target is and what lies beyond it. Because if you're in a newer parish that's mostly drywall, that's probably going to punch through the whole parish before it is done. Right.
Yeah, true.
Our
older parish maybe not so much.
Older parish is a lot of marble and stuff. You probably don't have to worry about penetration. But I wouldn't just realize even with the Annunciation Parish, you're outgunned if you're just carrying a pistol. that guy was bringing shotguns and an AR, right? Like you're outgunned. Now he probably can't shoot worth crap, right? But he's going to be shooting through things that your rounds won't be able to shoot through. Right. So just keep that in mind. But it's not a bad idea, but where are you going to have it, right? Are you going to have it in a backpack? Right? Is it going to be a PCC in a backpack? For those who don't know what a PCC is, a pistol carbine. Basically, it's like a 9mm AR, right? Type of platform, right? Was it a Flux Raider?
Yeah, it's one I can't carry
That's only
because it's a
320.
320.
So it gives you a little bit more aim, right? A little bit more accuracy.
Yeah.
With it, you can do a PCC as well. That's an AR platform, or like an MP5 style, right? Or MP7. It's just a matter of like where are you going to put it, right? Is your wife going to carry it in her purse, because the optics matter too. If someone sees you walking in with that and they don't know who you are,
yeah,
right,
that's a problem.
You're gonna have. But if somebody says you just carrying outside the waistband, you're much less likely to incur any resistance there. But I'm not against it. Just you need to be in a good parish for that, and they have to know who you are.
Besides extra ammo, what is the biggest reason to carry a spare mag? Because a lot of people, they think they don't need the extra ammo, and they think that's why they shouldn't. And I agree. Depending on what you're wearing, it might be hard to have an extra.
So the
mag on
average, according to FBI statistics, the average firefight is about 24 rounds. Okay, so you don't have that in your little 43X. Right. And most people, once you start to get the adrenaline going, you're not going to be hitting where you think you're hitting. Right. So the more ammo you have, the better.
And
if it is uncomfortable,
than you think you're shooting.
Yeah. If it is uncomfortable for you to carry, get over it. I have let me see if I have it on me now. Yeah, I do. Let me take this off real quick and I'll show you.
While he's doing that, besides extra ammo.
Yeah.
Most malfunctions can be resolved quickly by dropping the mag.
Yep.
Slapping a new one in, racking the slide. So having an extra mag to help with any potential malfunctions from a mag is important. So
this is just a piece of elastic. My belt goes in it, right? And my mag will go in this, right? So I have these. This is where I carry my extra mags when I'm at mass throughout the day. I carry a Neo mag as well. A Neo mag is just a clip where it'll deep conceal in a pocket, but this will be parallel with your belt. So it's not sticking up perpendicular. So you're not hitting it. So if you have a black belt on and you've got this on and you've got a black magazine in it, no one's going to see it.
Yeah.
Right. They're at least not going to notice it. Right. If they look hard at you, they might see it. Right. But this makes it super comfortable to wear. And this is like $3. You can get bicycle tubing and do the same thing. Right. And so it makes it super easy to carry an extra mag. And I carry a 20 round in here, the 15+5 with a mag extender on this with no problem at all. So there's no reason not to carry an extra mag. What if somebody you're shooting with, right? Say you shoot another guy and the other guy runs out of ammo and he's the only guy that's got a good beat on the guy and you can get him another mag and you're both carrying Glocks.
Right? I was going to ask, like, for security teams, all shooting 9mm doesn't do much for you unless you all can share mags. So do you suggest everyone getting a Glock?
It would be nice, but like you got too many individualistic people out there. A lot of people they don't like Glocks because it's just cool not to like Glocks, or they like Glocks and they don't like anything else, right? I'm not one of those guys. I like Glocks because I know when I pull the trigger, it's going to go off. Right? I like Glocks because I don't have to worry about the reliability on it, like an extractor missing a spring. I don't like.
He says that because I have a Glock that has an extractor missing a spring.
I can tell you the amount of classes I've been in, the firearm that has the least amount of issues has always been a Glock.
Yeah.
Springfield XDMs have a lot of issues.
Oh, I had an XDS. I hated that.
1911. Anything that has a grip safety, you're going to have issues in because, for example, say you're in a car and you're carrying and someone approaches your door and you have your gun and you're having to grip it in an unorthodox manner.
For
and you
those
have a grip
who
safety
don't
back
know,
here,
this here.
right? So that if you have a grip safety back here and you're not able to get a really good purchase on it, right? You may not be able to fire that weapon, right?
Also,
So,
on a 1911 or a lot of guns with external safeties, you know, ideally you swipe the safety off, but if you're not holding down on that safety while you're firing, the recoil can cause you to flip that, you know, unknowingly flip it back up, and then you think you have a malfunction and you don't.
So XDM's had a lot of issues. What else? What is that? Tauruses have a lot of issues, right? So
Yeah.
if you want just a good firearm that you know is reliable out of the box, don't do anything to it. Like this Glock has a stock trigger in it, right? I used to switch all my triggers out and put different triggers in them. I don't do that anymore. One, because it makes it less reliable, right? And two, I don't shoot well enough to need a new trigger. And majority, I would say 95% of people that shoot don't shoot well enough to need a new trigger. It's just a matter of people just want something that's, that's going to make them a better shooter. And it's just really not. You need to get used to a stock trigger, especially on a Glock. And I know a lot of guys that's going to raise a lot of issues. And there's going to be a lot of people, making comments about that. But you will, most of you are not out shooting. You're not shooting enough rounds to even worry about getting a new trigger. Don't even bother. Because once you start changing parts on it, it starts causing issues. Even with was it Trigger Tech with their Ace trigger just came out, and they just had to do an apology video and basically offer a full refund for anybody who got the trigger, because they're trying to put a race gun trigger into a duty carry pistol and it was having issues. Right?
Yeah.
Like just just get used to a stock trigger. That's all you need. If you want to, like this came, painted like this. Like you can, if you want to make it look pretty, go for it. I don't care. Just don't change the internals. There's no reason to. I don't do an extended slide release anymore either, because
you could dump a mag on, or
and I have on an extended. I have one on an old Gen 3 Glock 17, and I've dumped the mag, halfway in the middle of a drill because I accidentally hit it, right? Or my extended mag release. But my slide release, if it's extended, sometimes I accidentally hit it, and it when it's cycling back, right, it sticks, right, and it locks back. So,
out of curiosity, just like I said, for curiosity, when you do a reload, do you do the slide release or do you rack it?
I do slide release.
Okay.
I've done both, right? I've heard all the arguments like, well, your fine motor skills are going to go away, and you need to go over the top, and like pulling a trigger is a fine motor skill, right? So, just whatever you do, practice and let that be how you do it.
Yeah, true. So Jason asks, have you tried it's a hard
Canic,
in America we just say Canic, but
so
I have two personally, but
I haven't shot any yet. I looked at getting the TTI Canic, and they were having some issues with the firing pin in them, and I wanted to wait a little while and get a newer generation of it when it comes out before I buy one. But I mean, Striker 5 pistols are pretty much all the same at this point. Springfield Echelon is good, and it's pronounced Echelon, not Echelon. Springfield Echelon's good. Glocks are good. If you're going to buy SIG, buy the 365. There haven't been any issues with that, but I don't like SIG anymore because they tried to basically, catfish all of us at this point.
Gaslight, not catfish.
No, they're catfishing people with that 320, telling everybody it's a carry duty pistol. It's not.
Okay. I see what you mean.
Let's see who else is good. These are just
because
reliable.
the Echelon and the Hellcat.
Hellcat's great.
They're both HS products, right?
Yeah.
From Croatia.
Yeah, Hellcat gives you a whole lot of carry capability for a smaller pistol.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're worried about printing, the Hellcat's great.
So yeah, back to the Conics. I had a TP9 SF Elite from like 10 years ago. I've put a bunch of rounds through it, and I don't think I've had a single failure at all on it. They have good triggers, because as far as I know, that both the design and the tooling it's all made on is Walther. Because they got German Walther tooling from Turkey, did like 100 years ago, basically. The Turkish arms industry was basically created and supported by Germany. So
some Third Reich machining. I got it. I love it.
sure. So
yeah,
I don't
everything
mind.
I've heard about Connex has been their triggers are amazing.
Yeah,
right.
It's a Walder trigger basically.
Yeah. So the Smith and Wesson M&P 2.0 is great.
Yep.
Right. I heard a lot of great things about that. I haven't shot one. That's my next purchase. Eventually will be the M&P 2.0 metal carry. It's because it's got the compensator in it. Compensators are okay, right? They just you have to worry about the fireball effect at night, but it apparently shoots pretty flat. What else is good? Just
Walder,
it really just you need to find something
HK.
to fit your hand. Yeah, HK VP9s are great.
CZ can't go wrong.
CZs, P10Cs or P10C will fit in any holster that a Glock fits in, of the equivalent, right? So a Glock 19 holster will hold a CZ P10C.
So we've mentioned it a little.
Don't buy a 320.
Yeah.
In fact, I've got a guy who he has a 320. He's trying to offload on me. He's a local police officer, and he's basically trying to get retail on me. And I was like, brother, I'm not buying that for any more than $100.
Yeah,
because I'm gonna have to spend a few $100s to get that looked at to make sure that it's okay. And there's no way I'm paying retail, because there's not only that, but you can't trust what has happened, right?
yeah.
Because they've known about it since 2014 or whatever. There was a guy who has a patent on the fix, and they bought the patent back in 2014, right? So they've known about the fix for a long time. They just never done anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason they got the contract with the military apparently is because they came way under Glock, way
$100 million under Glock,
because they were selling each unit for $190.
And there's only one way you can do it that cheaply.
Yeah, and that's why everything's made in India.
Yep.
Right. And that's why you're having issues, because there's no quality control whatsoever. So if you have a 320, that thing needs to be a safe queen. You do not carry it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say don't buy one because they're cheap, but don't buy one to use. Buy it because it's going to be a historically bad screw up.
If you feel like you want an M17 or an M18, which has the external safety on it, they've still had issues with those.
Yeah.
So you just can't trust it. But now 365, I've never heard a single issue, and everybody loves a 365.
I have two of them. I had one of the originals.
The old 226s are great.
Yeah, 229s, 220s.
Yeah. So just stay away from the 320s. If you absolutely have to have a SIG for whatever reason, stay away from the 320s.
Do we have anything else we wanted to talk about before just doing questions?
No, we can do questions. If something pops up, we can go on a tangent.
Okay, so I have some. Let's see here. So, what about carrying at work?
I endorse it. Next question.
Yeah. Unless it's illegal for you to carry at work, like say you're a teacher in a state where you can't carry.
Yeah.
Then don't, probably, right?
But again, be willing to accept the consequences.
One way or the other.
If you're at work and you decide not to carry, be willing to accept that you're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But if you want to be able to protect yourself and other people, be willing to accept jail time. Right. That's really what it comes down to. But carrying at work, yes, if your job has an issue with it and they fire you for that, know that, right? Are you willing to get fired for this? Is your life worth being fired for?
Mm-hmm.
Right. If it's not, then, I can't help you there. But otherwise, you just be willing to accept the consequences.
What can be done about the Lautenberg Amendment? It keeps tens of millions of Americans from owning because of a misdemeanor.
I am of the opinion that and this is going a little bit further, but if you have served your time, you should get your rights back. Right. As long as you didn't have a violent felony.
Yep.
Right. And you should be able to get your rights back.
Yeah, because it is a God-given right to self-defense. Mm-hmm. Now, there can be arguments made where maybe the common good, in defense of the common good, as we talked about earlier, like you said, maybe violent felons to defend the common good, they don't get that right. Or maybe there's other, I could see someone who is legitimately very mentally ill and is a danger. Yeah, to defend the common good, maybe they don't get that right for that period.
Yeah.
But
So,
yeah,
like,
does
sexual assaults, domestic violence, murders, assault and batteries, like, you should never get that right back.
Right.
But you can't be trusted with it. Right. Is why.
Yep.
And there will be extenuating circumstances on that, because a lot of people are charged with crimes that doesn't look like what they end up getting charged with. Right.
That's true.
So
plead down, stuff like
there
that.
has to be some leeway for some exceptions, but most times, right, no. But again, if you serve your time, you should get your rights back.
So there's a few questions in here kind of along the same vein here. So we have questions about carrying a knife as well.
You should carry a pocket knife anyway. Like,
yeah.
Like, my kids always need something cut. Right. You should have a pocket knife anyway.
I generally don't carry like a specific self-defense tactical knife because if I'm at that, like, I would only ever use that as a last resort if my gun goes down or something like that. But generally, if you're at that stage, it's rough.
I used to carry a Shiv from ShivWorks, and
like a little, is that like a punch knife?
Kind of, it fits underneath the belt. It's basically, it's mine's two-sided, it's two-edged, double-edged, whatever you want to call it. It's late on a Monday, but I don't, because I just carry a pocket knife now, and the reason for that is if you get in a knife fight, you're getting stabbed. There's going to be blood everywhere, and then if you're in a knife fight and you're trying to, you got blood all over your hands and you're trying to get a good presentation on your weapon, it's going to be very hard. If you want to carry a knife, go for it, but the best way to win a knife fight is not being a knife fight.
Yeah. So if you're going to carry a knife, carry one that's just most useful.
Yeah.
How do you go about finding if your parish already has a security team? Talk to the priest, I would imagine.
Yeah. Hopefully somebody's liaising with the police there at your parish. If you have a police officer there, somebody's on the inside at least, talking to them either through some type of app on the phone, or maybe they got like an ear mic or something. Or just, find the guy that looks like everybody talks to him. And if he's carrying, ask, like, hey, do we have a security team here? Who's involved? And if you want to get involved, ask. I would not approach the priest though, because he may be in a, forgiveness rather than permission mode. And he may not want to know anything about it. So, but I would just find that circle of influence of somebody who's, is carrying, and ask them.
Just to see what else we got here. What about packing bigger weapons in the vehicles in the parking lot during Mass?
I don't like leaving firearms in the vehicles, which is, a big conversation that was had on X, like, hey, if your security team, they carry, and maybe you have them, people not carry in Mass, they leave it in the cars. You're just asking for your car to be broken in and somebody stealing your firearm. Right.
Especially because a lot of trad parishes are in bad neighborhoods.
Yes, absolutely. Mine is in the worst neighborhood in the whole state. So, no, I don't recommend leaving firearms in vehicles at all because of that. Especially if your parish is in a very ethnic area and y'all, a bunch of white folk going in there, right? They know y'all are carrying, right? So, because, white people are the only people that really carry legally. So, except for in Alabama, everybody can carry legally. So, but no, I don't recommend it whatsoever.
I could see maybe if you had someone like on Overwatch or something in a parking lot, maybe, but
that's an entirely different situation. Where somebody can be outside the whole time. Maybe, he's keeping an eye on the parking lot, or maybe your parking lot has controlled access. Like, you have to come through a gate to get into the parking lot. then maybe, right? Like I'm not going to say a blanket no, but I don't like it, right? Because I've seen firearms get stolen at when I worked at the fire department in Georgia. We had guys, they knew firefighters carried, right? And so they were breaking into our trucks when we went out on calls and steal our firearms. We had a rash of that happen.
Someone's asking, what is racking the slide? Yeah, just working the slide.
Yeah. So yeah, if your firearm runs empty, right, it'll lock back. Hopefully, you have a magazine that does that. So a lot of guys will teach over the top, right? So you grab over the top and run it back. That way, you use the tension on the spring to go forward for you, right? Otherwise, you have this. It's called the slide release, and this will just let it go forward for you, right? Work whatever you train, however you like. Use one of them and use that one only all the time. Don't go back and forth.
Yeah, because I tend to shoot a lot of different guns with different slide releases. I've just personally I rack the slide, but
that's fine. If that's how you train, then do it.
So a lot of people only have their state only allows 10 round capacities. So do they carry 3 mags at that point?
If you can fit 3 mags on you comfortably, do it. If you've got suspenders that also, turn into bandoliers, go for it. I don't if anybody needs a good business idea, that would be amazing. But I mean, carry what you cover, at least carry 1 extra mag, because what if your mag goes bad?
Yep.
For whatever reason, at least have a second on you.
Yep. What calibers do we recommend?
I like 9mm. Ballistics, there's very little difference between that and 45. 10mm has too much kick, and so does 40. Has too much kick for follow-on shots. 9mm, you get plus P, duty carry ammo, whether it's HST ammo or I like carrying G9, which is an external hollow point. It's got really good ballistics. You can't go back, spear, gold dot, whatever it is. But the reason I choose 9, 1, you can carry more rounds. 2, it is cheap.
Yep.
And 3, the ballistics on it and follow-on shot is much easier to acquire with a 9 than any of the larger calibers. I would not carry anything less than a 9.
380's right. I mean, right there. But even then, like,
you might as well carry a 9.
Yeah.
Like the reason you go 380 is because you want a smaller handgun. You can get a smaller handgun in 9 with a much more capacity than any 380 is really made right now.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, for pistol calibers outside of 44 mag and up, ballistically, basically all do the same. Which, I mean, with the pistol caliber, you're gonna have to get them, in the CNS to get a quick stop. Otherwise, they're bleeding out.
Yeah.
So whether it's 9, 45, 40, 10, 357, whatever, it's all basically gonna be the same. So you might as well just get 9 because like Adrian said, it's cheap, widely available. Like as far as ballistic technology, 9 has everything out there. All the advancements in ballistic technology is going to happen with 9mm first, basically. Like the external hollow point, like G9 or like Hornady's critical duty and stuff like that. I would just go 9.
Yeah. I mean, there's
but if you already have a gun in 40, or you had
if you go to bear country a lot
or something like that, whatever.
If you go to bear country a lot, carry a 10.
Yeah,
10mm.
Which is
because that bear's, you're going to shoot that bear with 9mm and it's just going to laugh at you, and then it's going to eat you.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on the circumstances.
Yeah,
we're talking about concealed carrying.
Be flexible. Be flexible.
Most of life, 9mm, but
yeah.
This one I don't know. What kind of gun control in Minnesota will the Dems try to pass? And how do we stop them? So I live in Minnesota, for anyone who doesn't know. And for as liberal as this state is, we actually don't have too many bad gun laws right now. Like, we don't have mag restrictions. We don't have silly AR restrictions as far as having pistol grips and stuff like that. We don't have constitutional carry, which does suck, but it's easy to get a concealed carry permit here in Minnesota. So I don't know what they're going to try to pass. I'm sure some sort of AR ban. They've tried that a few times in recent years. That would be my big guess is AR ban, maybe mag restrictions. I don't know.
Yeah. So this is a training issue.
Very true.
Right. Yes, this can happen, but you can out train this. Right. So as long as you're getting used to pulling that thing all the way back and then letting go, if you try and ride it forward, yeah, you're gonna have that issue. Right. And that's
which a lot of
tendency.
new people do.
Yeah.
They do.
You just gotta out train it.
Yeah, you're not going to break your gun by really pulling a hard back on that thing.
Remember, your gun is a tool, right? Use it as a tool. If you're worried about it getting scuffed up and damaged and so, like you're not treating that tool appropriately.
Yeah.
Yes.
What about carrying at a gym?
Do y'all not watch World Star? Right? Like,
well, I mean, it's 2025, so not so much World Star anymore, man.
That is just the genre now, right? Like all these videos that come out of like guys getting like there's a guy got tasered in the nuts at a gym because he's trying to fight a cop, right? Like people are crazy, man. Carry everywhere, especially if you got headphones in, like I do when I go to the gym, and thankfully they have mirrors on all the walls because there's so much vanity there, but. And that way I can keep an eye on what's going around all the time. But yeah, carry all the
time. Let's see.
I mean, fanny packs have made a comeback. Carrying a fanny pack.
Right? Yeah. The only, on one hand, like instinctively, I'm like, oh, off body carry is a bad thing. But I mean, it is connected to you via basically a belt, which is the same as.
But you can train and get it and still get within a 2-second draw.
Yeah.
Right? Like you just got to train with it. If you carry it across the chest, right? Like you just got a zipper, like, cause I've got a Eberly stock, right? And you just got a really good zipper on it. You pull it and then it's exposed and you can draw and present, right? You just got to train with it.
I do have one of those Eberly bags for the flux I can't carry anymore.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Is that all of them? Yes, but the Roland Special also had like an inch-long compensator on it that threw a fireball like 6 feet in the air. Right. We have better technology now, and the Roland Special has outlived its use. Both of these comments, see what else we have.
Everyone in the chat, remember to pray for Kennedy Hall, his wife, and the baby. I have not seen the update, but I heard some things before that. It's not looking good. They're going to need a real miracle there.
So. Father McGivney, y'all need to be praying for unborn children. Ask for his intercession. He's had a lot of success there. Carrying the tomahawk. Yeah, I wouldn't want to deal with the tomahawk either.
Yeah. No, it's just not worth it, man.
Like Last of the Mohicans on somebody in the middle of the church.
Oh.
Let's see what else. Fanny bags from the Secret Service. Yes. Fanny bags are everywhere. Use them. They're common now. So you don't have to look weird carrying a fanny pack.
Yeah, so chances are, if you see a guy carrying a fanny pack and he's not Asian, they're probably
he's either gay or carrying.
Very true.
It's more than likely what it is. I remember I used to have one of the Marine Corps schools I went to. I had an instructor who would, like back, and this was in 2008, who carried it in a fanny pack. He carried a Browning high power, and he's like, nice. And he'd always threaten people like, if you know I got that fanny pack on me, I'm just going. All it takes me 3 seconds to get that high power up, put it in your face. I'm like, brother, you got a FUPA. There's no way you're getting that thing in time before I take you down.
Oh.
I'm just going through the comments, see if we missed anything. Anybody have any other questions?
If you have a bishop that doesn't like your Knights of Columbus having swords, I'm sorry, you're screwed.
Look, I'm gonna get into something. I'm gonna get on my pedestal here.
Oh, hold on. We got a layout for that. Okay.
All right. So every single one of you, every single man here who is not a Knight of Columbus, you need to join the Knights of Columbus. They are rife to be taken over from the inside. Right. And I've had this conversation with some other guys. These councils are have the infrastructure already in place. You will not be able to create anything better than what they already have. Not in the time that we have, anyway. They are led by men who are tired of doing it, and they will be glad for someone else to take the reins. All it takes for you need 4 guys. You need a Grand Knight, a Deputy Grand Knight, financial secretary, and a treasurer. And you can take over that council and have it do whatever you want. If you have a council where you're like, hey, all they do is meat sales and Tootsie Roll drives or whatever, change it.
Fish dinners.
You just need 4 guys, and you can change that council into whatever you want. If you want a council that is the security team, you just need 1 year. Come in June, get voted in, take over those positions. They'll be glad to give them over to you, and then bring in a bunch of other guys as well that you know. You can take over any. I don't care where you're at. Take them over, right? They have an infrastructure there and money to do whatever you want. All it takes is a bunch of guys. In a city, you need 4 guys per council. You just need to do 3 or 4 councils, especially some of these trad parishes are trad adjacent, right? It would not take long to change the culture whatsoever, right? And so absolutely everyone should be joining the Knights to take it over and to support that, because it is the most traditional apostolate out there that's as big as it is, it's already got everything in place, right? They're the most pro-life organization you're going to have anywhere in any parish. They do more. The Knights of Columbus provide more ultrasound machines than most hospitals. Okay. They've already got the goodwill of 100. Well, we're almost 150 years now of serving in the church. If you don't like your council, change it. It only takes 4 of you, right? I know some of y'all are eternally online. You don't even have 4 friends, but go out and make some, right? Find some guys that y'all want to change how your council works. And all you need is 4 guys, and that is it. And you can bring in everybody you want, right? And then you can change the culture of that council everywhere you're at. There is a Latin Mass Knights website, right? There's already a bunch of councils that have been taken over by guys, right? Robert Morgan on X, right? His council's phenomenal. And they're at, I believe, an ICKSP parish, right? I think I might be wrong on that, but I know it's at least a Latin Mass parish. But they have a phenomenal parish there, and they're the ones that really headed up the St. Louis preservation in Missouri, right? Especially of the
statue of St.
for the statue, and they've created now a whole few-day event now because of it, and that really came from a lot of the Knights there putting in that work, right? It can be done everywhere, right? You can make it to whatever you want it to be. You just got to do it. All right, I'm off my pedestal. I just hate hearing my council is a bunch of old guys. And look, man, these guys didn't have kids. And if they did have kids, their kids don't like them.
That's true.
And they would love for a young Catholic man to come in there and want to work with them and then take over. That's all they want. They just want to give it over. They're done doing it. These guys have been doing meat smokes for like 35 years. They're wore out, right? They'll kill over real fast once you just go and give them a little resistance, right? They'll be, all right, I'm done, right? There is no reason for anybody to complain about their Knights Council because it only takes 4 of you to change it. That's not a lot of people, right? The Revolutionary War was fought with 3% of people, right? You don't even need that in a parish. You need like 0.1%. You just need 4 guys.
That's word of the night. I don't know what word you're talking about.
Knights of Columbus is Jew occupied. I'd love to hear how the Knights of Columbus are Jew occupied.
I think maybe they just mean like they're a bunch of boomer dispensationalists. But
Do you think the boomers are going to live forever?
They
No.
do. They do.
They've got maybe 10 years at most. Maybe. They are ineffective now. It is not hard to get them out of any positions of power in any parish. You just have to do it. The problem is we have a bunch of guys that don't want it. They have no backbone. They want everybody to do something for them. Right? Nobody wants to start anything, and nobody wants to commit to anything. That's the issue.
It's true.
Understand the history of the Knights of Columbus. Okay. There is documented history of running guns to the Costeros in the Mexican Civil War. Okay. There is documented history of turf war against the KKK. Right. The Knights of Columbus is not always
Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
The Knights of Columbus has not always been the effeminate organization that it's kind of presented in most places now. That's because effeminate men got into positions of power and they pushed out other men that just didn't feel like they didn't want to fight anymore. Right. Well, it's time to get up off the couch and do something about it. All right. Who else do I want to go after?
How do we run? Never mind. I shouldn't ask that on here.
How do it not? Okay.
No, I shouldn't.
If your inner sensor kicked in, it's probably a good.
Instantly.
If your sensor's cooking in,
I read this and I was going to ask a question that would have been deemed very bad.
Look, if there was a legal way to do it to the Britain, it would be done right now.
That's what I was going to ask. How do we get them?
Look, the problem with Britain is there's a lot of ocean between us and there, right? So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go through Northern Africa, right, and come across the strait there, and then but
Gibraltar. We're going to have to cross Gibraltar.
There's ways to do it. There's ways to do it.
Or if Trump just got us Greenland, that would get us a little closer.
Yeah, we'd be a little closer. We've got all kinds of firearms in Eastern Europe already. We can just shuffle over, man. They don't even have to come from us. We just got to get them.
True.
Over.
That's true. We just got to get them from Ukraine back over to.
This is what I'm talking about. Because men have absconded from their responsibility. You got this one guy is up there having to fight against 63 boss ladies, right? And he's gonna be wore out because no one else is ready to step up there with him.
I feel so bad.
Everybody's a FUD if you think they're a FUD. Like the FUDs are in everything, man. Like, did you not read the
Did you see how many comments I got about my gun having too much stuff on it? I'm like, come on, guys. It's a weapon light and a red dot. It's pretty basic.
It's like the irony poisoning we've discussed before, right? It's just people just label FUD so they can disregard it, right? It's the same thing with irony poisoning. Like a lot of the Groy, I'm going to bring it now, but a lot of the Groypers do, right? They do a lot of because you don't really know what their opinion is because all they can say is, well, it was a joke. What's wrong with you? I was joking, right? Like. Let your yes mean yes and your no mean no. Like if I don't know what your opinion is and I can't hold you to it, what good are you? You have no truth about you. It is a fasces, yes.
Really, the fascists just have a Roman symbol in their logos. That's all
Correct.
it is.
Correct. Let's see what else we got here. They did win 2 world wars.
Yeah, well, I don't have my Beretta out. I'll say two Gulf Wars, baby.
There's nothing secret about the Knights. Like nothing.
You don't take an oath to keep things secret or anything.
There's no secrecy to the Knights, so there's no issue there.
I forget, so I suppose I'm still registered, so I am a knight. I suppose I haven't gone to a meeting in forever. It's more just because we don't go to our local parish. So, anyways, I forget what they even whispered in my ear during the first degree ceremony.
Like, they don't even do that anymore.
I know they don't, which sucks, but
because like the old rites were fun. Were good, right? Like I went through all the old rites. I mean, yeah. I didn't do the riding the goat they did in the 60s, right? But there was nothing secret about it. No, like you could tell people what happened. Yeah. It's not like with the Freemasons where like they threaten your family, so yeah. So
Yeah,
anybody
so
that doesn't
true.
like a red dot on a gun, I know that's not what's being said here, but when you get older and you lose your sight, you're going to love that red dot. Because
You'd think the FUDs would love them, right?
you would
really
think,
would.
right? Well, red dots fail. Hell, my iron sights fail. My iron sights have broken.
I recently watched a video. I think it was by Regular Guy Training. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah, like him, the Asian guy.
Yeah. The jokes he makes about Asians are amazing. But yeah, he does training classes, a ton of training classes throughout the year, and he's taken stats, and the number of front sights he's had just appeared during the middle of a training class is like 10 times the number of red dots he's had fail on people's guns.
And it's a lot easier to switch out a red dot than a front sight post.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot easier.
Yeah. If you ever find that front sight post in the grass or wherever.
Yeah. Hey, nothing is outside the bounds of possibility here.
How did you feel about the change in the fourth degree uniform?
I don't care, because that's not even the first time it's been changed. It used to be a top hat and coattails, right? Like I don't care about the uniform, right? I don't like that they keep changing it. Like, just stick with something and keep it there. But whatever. It really doesn't matter.
So I forget what gun I was putting a red dot on. I don't know, but the screw sheared off in the red dot. Luckily, it was like it broke off in the plate. Oh, it was on one of the Berettas. It broke off in the adapter plate. So I just had to order a new adapter plate instead of like, well, now this gun's screwed forever. But it was annoying.
Yeah. Good, man. That's what I like to hear. Get some good dudes together and get that thing going. Like, for my council that I do, like, I'm the youngest guy by like 20 years, but I've brought in like 15 other guys younger than me by 15 years. Right. In fact, we're tossing around the idea of doing a fundraiser, but doing skeet shooting. Right.
That'd be cool.
People who would I've had come to approach me just because they've heard that we might do that. Right. And so it just whatever you're wanting to do with your council, you can do it. You just need 4 dudes to take it over. That's it. That's all you need.
And we kind of started off the episode talking about like, how do we change the culture, in at least in the American Catholic Church around certain things. And on this episode, we talked about getting to be more accepting of guns and things like that. Well, you change the culture through these different institutional organs. Like you said, if you can get people interested in the Knights because of skeet shooting, that becomes a regular thing for that council. Well, you're changing the whole culture of, and down south you're not doing that, but up here you would be changing the whole culture of a parish, around firearms by getting a council into skeet shooting and getting that to be a whole parish fundraiser and things of that nature.
Exactly. You're really just limited by what you're willing to put the time and effort into doing. Right. And that's really all it comes down to. And if you want your Knights to be the face of everything, your priest will love that. Because if your parish sees a bunch of men stepping up and doing something, it's going to attract more men to your parish. Right. And all of a sudden they're like, hey, this council over here they're the ones doing the security and the ushers. And they're the guys that are, helping with whatever fundraiser, and they're putting on men's nights. Like, you don't have to do things that have always been done. Like, there weren't always meat smokes and the intellectual disabilities drives. Like, those got started from somewhere, right?
Those pictures of the old ones.
Yeah.
Just so amazing.
Yeah. I've saved a whole lot of them. In fact, I have one of the aprons.
I was going to say, do the modern aprons say it still?
No, I have an old one. It was in the storage of our council, and
for anyone who's a convert,
I acquired it.
It didn't grow up in the church. Let's just say, thinking back now to the 90s, when you'd go out after mass, the Knights were there with their aprons, selling Tootsie Rolls for 25 cents to help retarded children.
Help the retarded to learn. It was amazing.
It was such a better time.
Look, man, to be retarded means to be held back, right? So anybody who has an issue with that word is what it means. It means to be held back.
Yeah.
Like I have a retarder on one of my lawnmowers, right? It's just what it is. It's holding it back. Exactly. The more young women see young men step up, right? For those of you that have a hard time finding dates because you like your banjo a little bit more than talking to women, you need to present a little bit more of a manly presentation, right? Because first time meeting somebody matters a lot.
It does.
If you meet a woman and you've got a fish handshake, and your hands are all sweaty and because you're nervous because you've never talked to, practice now with women that you don't think are attractive. Like when you're getting coffee or something, talk to women. That way you get used to it, right? Practice on other women. Talk to people, right? Just get the nerves out. So when you do have a young lady that you want to approach, right, you're not as nervous. Right? Let's see. I'll probably ruffle some feathers on this one. I don't know, man. Like a Majorian's the jaundiced Tim Gordon, and
yes,
he I see a lot of myself in him 20 years ago, right? He's much stronger at his age than I was. But
I have a feeling you didn't read Nietzsche 20 years ago.
I did not read Nietzsche at all.
It doesn't seem like a Marine thing to do there.
No, I read I didn't read Nietzsche, I'll tell you that. There are some other far edgier people I used to read. But
fair.
But he's right on track, right? Like we have too many nerdy tweed wearing guys that but I understand where they come from because they come from because the Latin Mass is a very intellectual pursuit, right? And I get that, right? But a lot of these guys have never seen a hard day's work in their life, right? When I travel, man, I see it a lot. My parish is not so much. I have a very blue collar Latin Mass parish, so I don't see it as much in our parish. But when I travel and I see it, and like these guys are bean poles, and like it looks like a stiff wind will blow them over, right? So it's a matter of presentation a lot of times because you can fool a lot of people.
It's not even necessarily just trads. And I'm probably going to ruffle feathers with this one. I think converts in general, because those who convert largely are doing so for intellectual reasons, right? And they want to go deep into it, and that's a good thing, obviously. But there's a different side to Catholicism too, other than just plain intellectual study.
Yeah, the getting outside of your comfort zone is big, right? If you have a hard time picking up a 45-pound plate, you need to do that more often, right? You need to learn how to sacrifice a little bit more and sweat a little bit more. If you live in the South and you don't go out during the summer, that's an issue, right? You're going to sweat. Get over it. It's uncomfortable, right? And we just have a lot of guys right now who aren't willing to be uncomfortable. Is really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
All right, so let's wrap it up. I know you got work tomorrow.
Don't remind
I do
me.
too, but I kind of make my own schedule. But I think it was good. I think we provided some good information for some guys to at least go find what they need to find. And but
yeah, maybe as we continue to do this, we can. We have a website that I haven't updated in forever, but maybe there or on some other resource we can develop resources where people can go, like maybe list of people who can come and do a threat assessment, or where people can go for training, things like that. Something long term for us to think about.
And if y'all have somebody near you that does training and you want me to look at them for you, like if they have a website, just DM them to me. And I'll check them out real quick, and I'll kind of give you my assessment based on what they do. Unfortunately, there's a lot of guys out there that just because they serve in the military, they think they can teach firearms, and that's not true. I can't tell you how many guys in the military who cannot shoot. Because I used to teach guys when I was in the Marines. I was a PMI. There's a lot of guys can't shoot. So if you want me to check out somebody, send them to me. I'll be happy to look at them for you. And then, yeah, like Rob said, we'll get some info. But in the meantime, buy Rick's book. It's $2 on Apple Books, right? By the time you buy it, $2 will only be worth $1.90 anyway. So just buy it anyway, and at least have the resources that you can quick search. And if you find somebody on X who's spouting off about, being fearful, you can quote some things at them.
And yeah, we at some point we will definitely have Rick on.
Rick was supposed to come on tonight. I asked him to come on, but his flight back from Rome was delayed.
The title is The Armed Catholic, The Catholic Case for Guns and Self-Defense by Rick Barrett.
Yes. So get that. I'm sure he'll enjoy the sales.
I'll try to remember to put a link to it in the description tomorrow. It's not in there currently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, thanks.
If anyone watches this and comes up with questions later or watches this later,
put them in the comments.
Put them in the comments.
I'll go back and check them occasionally.
Yeah.
And I'll try and answer what I can.
Or if you're on Twitter, our handles are right on screen. Yeah, I think my DMs are open to anyone, so just shoot me a DM or something.
Yep.
But, okay, without further ado, happy Labor Day, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
See y'all.